All right. Welcome back to Mind-Body Relationship, where we talk about the mind, the body, and the relationship. All right. I'm Dr. Lori Hill, and we have a special guest today, which is Lori. Oh, dear.
I'm Lori Broughton.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of doing my master's with you, and that's been a good experience. I appreciate that.
Well, that's fantastic. And you are all but 100% done. Yeah.
2 evaluations, 1 more paper.
And that's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other part of your life is to do with personality dimensions, right?
I've used personality dimensions for many years. So I was very lucky when I worked with Fanshawe. They trained us in the theory, and I've been licensed ever since. I've used this theory when I was teaching at the college.
Oh.
I used it with students. I used it when I was a director of an agency. We worked with teams looking at this theory. And certainly just in general, I've used it as an employment counselor, because one of the other things I'm licensed in is employment counseling, and as a result we helped people to find work or to choose careers based on this theory.
Exactly. Now some people know it as like colors.
Yes.
Is that right? Yes.
That's right. So the history, really, if you look at it, True Colors was out first. Don Laurie. It was an American model. True Colors was one where there wasn't a lot of regulation, and where facilitators could really photocopy resources and deliver in modified ways.
Okay.
As a Canadian resource, Personality Dimensions was created, and as a Canadian resource, we buy all of our products. We still report back to Career Life Skills, and we always maintain any communication with them.
Oh, intriguing. All right. So what is the benefit of going through the process?
The benefit of the process is that it provides a common language. Really, as Personality Dimensions was created, the hope was that it's a model and a framework that is easy to understand, that people can communicate about easily, that they can utilize in either home, work, or social settings. So really, it's a model that's pretty flexible, and it's a model that once someone's exposed to and they learn a little bit about, they have the choice then to kind of incorporate that thinking and incorporate the ideology.
Intriguing. All right. Now we're actually really looking at incorporating this into our retreat processes, right? So that people actually really have something to walk away with in regards to understanding themselves.
Yes.
And understanding others that they're in relationship with, right?
And it's a model because it's fairly fluent. Lots of employers have recognized it. They've used the language there. So really, not only can we use it in the retreats here, but it's something that they can take back to other aspects of their lives.
Excellent. All right. So how about if you walk me through it? How does it work?
So there are 2 different ways. You can do a personality dimension session together where you have a facilitator, and that'll take 3 or 4 hours.
Wow. Okay.
Or there's a model that you can do hybrid. So I can send someone an email, they can complete the assessment online, they get the report, and I get the report, and then together we spend more focused time just looking at what does that assessment look like for them. And in our case with the marriage seminar, what does that assessment look like for a partnership couple?
Exactly. And it's not only the partnership couple, but if they have kids or extended family as well.
True. There is a model for youth to complete, so that is possible as well. So certainly I hadn't even thought of that. If a family wants to extend that, there is a youth version that younger people could do.
Oh, very good.
But simply, once you learn the model, if you listen to folks' interaction, if you listen to the words people are using, if you listen to some of their communication styles, you can pick up some themes, and you can kind of pick that up once you've addressed where you fall within the model and your understanding of the model.
Oh, very good. Of course, that would require listening.
But that's the whole point.
It is, actually.
I mean, we're together in the marriage seminar hoping that is a component that will infiltrate the whole weekend. But for this, absolutely. And I guess that's the validity of the model. Some folks might come in and see the model as not legitimate. Or if you compare it to something like Myers-Briggs. Myers-Briggs is more in-depth, has a 16-point indicator. This is different. If you look at Kiersey.com, there's some relationship. This is another theory that if you you look at those others, you'll see similarities at the foundation of those theories.
That's right, exactly. The big five, that sort of thing, right? Right. Fantastic.
So in our case, what I did was sent you the assessment through email.
And I filled it out.
And then when the report came in, I simply sent it to you.
Yes, that's right. And here it is. And I'm looking at it. And so the question is, what does it actually really say?
So there's several different indicators. It's looking at life values, which are overall values. It's looking at your work component, how we function on the job. Relationships, meaning core relationships, how we approach either our children or neighbors or colleagues. Then it's looking at communication, meaning I have a preferential style of communication and so do you.
Yes,
and
exactly.
they may not match. And then in conflict, often what couples, and even on the workplace, when conflict arises, this is a tool of understanding to approach that conflict situation and then to communicate more effectively. There is a traits and characteristics component, and that's really a cross-referencing. So all the answers that you gave in the other components, that really cross-references some of them and forced decision kind of options, makes you look at those again. And you ultimately get final scores. So ultimately there are 4 predominants, green, gold, blue, and orange. Of those 4 predominants, you will have a numeric score within each.
Intriguing.
That numeric score gives you a preferred style, a secondary style, another style, and a least preferred style.
Wow. Okay.
And then what you get the chance to look at, and the reason I like this model more than True Colors is that in True Colors we really talked about you're green, I'm a gold, you're an orange, you're a blue. This model though, really I like going back to the different categories, because within the different categories I have strengths within different color predominance than my overall.
Yes, that's so interesting. All right, so how about if we take a look at one of the categories and do a this is yours here, is that right? Do a kind of comparison.
Okay.
So that we can see how well it is that we actually work together before we start working together.
Which we're well into.
Exactly. Too late.
That was even a reflection. Even driving here today, this is my first time at this location. It's a beautiful location at Portside. Everyone will want to visit. This is a lovely site.
It is lovely.
Even in our conversation yesterday, I asked about details, how to get here, where to park,
Yes.
what time to be here.
Yes, you did. Exactly.
And I realized even in reflection this morning, that's really my approach in being a gold, in that I needed to have those details. I needed to think about the details. I needed to organize those details. I needed time to reflect on those details. You're a predominant orange. So predominant oranges like variety, freedom, and choice. Something different every day.
There you go.
So your approach may have been, just show up, Lori. You'll find it. You're laughing.
It's true. It's true.
And that was exactly my reflection coming down this morning, is that something as simple as an interaction like that, my focus, my reason for asking the question, and then your interpretation of why I was even doing that. So certainly if we were in another situation where my asking questions and my interest in detail and my writing things down was actually annoying you slightly.
Right. It could be.
Then it's the understanding of, why do I need to do it? Am I doing that literally just to drive people crazy? No, I'm doing it because it's my natural predominance. I wake up in the morning thinking about lists, thinking about organizing my day, thinking about time, thinking about staying on time. It's just who I am.
Now, a question, right? So, generally speaking, I mean, everyone's on a spectrum.
Yes.
Right? So even though it is that you're saying, this is me, right? I would imagine every gold is on a spectrum. Every blue is on a spectrum, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how does that work?
So the first indicator is to look at the value and how strong that is. When I keep saying gold, my strength in predominance in gold is 27.
Wow.
Exactly. Where my predominance in orange is 11.
Wow.
And your predominance in orange is?
20.
Absolutely. So even in the spectrum of orange, the way that I operate or think within that orange perspective, likely is drastically different than yours, just because your strength is much more than mine.
Intriguing.
And if we look at the communication line, so at the communication line, we're looking at 4, 3, 2, 1. Under your orange, what number do you have for communication?
I have a 3.
You have a 3. So in communication, I have a 4 under gold. So what that simply means is that even in a communication pattern and style, I will naturally predominantly still respond like a gold, think like a gold, respond in that way. In your case, however, your overall is orange, but you're 3 within communication. Where's your 4 in communication?
It's with blue.
Blue. So that's very much more about listening to the person, making eye contact, hearing a full story, hearing that full story in euphemisms and in meaning, and listening to the meaning behind what I'm saying.
Oh, intriguing.
In communication, however, I'm looking at what's the detail, is it in order, does it make sense, is it linear?
Intriguing. So you're actually looking for different words than what it is that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a picture, actually.
Absolutely. And sometimes I'm good at talking in pictures. So I think sometimes when I've been speaking or in communication, there's times where I would have been talking that way, and that would have made a lot more sense to you.
Right.
At other times when I'm asking questions or communicating from a more gold perspective, that's where that linear lines, lists, write it all down, versus the picture and the person, and how do the picture and the person match.
Intriguing. Do you need a filing cabinet? Right now you're piling, not filing.
I do have a filing cabinet. So that's a blessing of this as well. When you get trained in PD, there's lots of handouts, there's lots of resources that you can then print and share.
Yeah.
So in a workshop situation or in a life situation, I can actually reflect back to those. And it makes the job easier, and it gives the person a takeaway. So even as simple as do's and don'ts. If we look at a green for a second, a green is someone who really values knowledge and competence.
Oh, intriguing.
So if someone who's a strong green makes a mistake, they need some space to be able to go away, think about that, and then come back to the conversation. If I was in a communication pattern with a green and I was forcing a conversation and forcing an answer and demanding an answer and projecting in that kind of way, then that's actually shutting that person down.
Intriguing.
It's not meeting their communication style, and it won't be productive, likely won't be productive in the communication pattern.
Intriguing, right. Wow. Or on the other hand, just saying, go with it.
That's the oranger piece, yes. So that's more the predominance. And in communication, particularly with someone who is operating in a stronger orange perspective, they want a conversation to be quick, simple, get in, get out, give them the detail, and be done. And if there's an argument or a disruption with someone that is a predominant orange, they'll have the conversation with you. The conversation will be done. The conversation will be wrapped up. They won't be carrying that with them. It's like the euphemism of off the duck's back, right? It's gone.
Oh, wow.
So an orange may not hang on to detail or hang on to a conflict, need to come back to a conflict. Once it's done, it's done.
Right. So true.
And gold is not like that. So there again, that's me knowing my weakness, knowing my predominance, and when I'm communicating with someone who's in a different predominance, understanding that and giving some flexibility, giving the relationship some room to grow and develop, so that in the long run, ultimately, communication, conflict, and overall kind of collaboration is stronger.
Wow. It's intriguing, right? Because they all sort of like overlap with one another, right? Because when you talk about communication can lead to conflict, but life values can also lead to conflict as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's really just a framework. It's a framework from which to have conversations, to strike up some decisions within a couple, perhaps, or planning within a couple, or perhaps even just that communication conflict piece. So you are absolutely right. It's like it's layered. And then part of it is us understanding our own preferences and predominance, but then respecting the other person's preferences and predominances.
Oh, okay. So basically you're creating a picture of the other person that you keep in mind as it is that you are in communication or doing anything.
Absolutely.
Intriguing.
It could be as easy as directions from to A to B on a day trip.
Ah.
I'd prefer that we looked at the location, saw the map, have a map, but they don't exist anymore.
Google it.
But your Google's at home, not necessarily in the car. So something as simple as a day trip, where one person might approach that day of just being in the moment and having fun because it's different and it's variety and it's new.
Right.
And another person is in the car knowing they're getting lost more and more hour by hour and not being able to relax in that moment when the other person is perfectly happy being lost because it's an adventure.
Right. Intriguing.
And we have found things by accident because of those adventures. So in hindsight, I can use that example because it's a live, real example. It's so current for me. Mm-hmm. So then my learning from that has to be to slow down, be in the moment, enjoy that moment, even if we are lost, and then celebrate the opportunity that comes from that.
Oh, okay. So intriguing. So it's not only a kind of directive in how to be in relationship with others, but also a directive for yourself.
If you choose it to be.
In order to keep yourself in check. Wow. That's intriguing.
It can be. So the model has lots of opportunity. The model is very flexible. The model is one where, like I said, you can do it in session or hybrid, where I send it via email. And I've seen the model be very, very productive in lots of different situations. I strongly believe in it. In one situation where I was a director of an agency, we used it with our teams. So when we were structuring teams, when we had team meetings, when there was conflict, we could then structure positive outcomes based on the needs of the team, the needs of the individuals, and what that looked like.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you, Lori, for coming and talking to us about this fantastic model. And if you are interested in your own personality dimension, definitely, give us a contact, right? Because that's what it is that we're going to be doing here. We're going to be putting on retreats, whether it's to do with workplace situations, marital situations, relationship situations in any kind of way. I think that it just sounds so valuable just to be able to know about yourself and know about others.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yes, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us. All right. Well, give us a like if you like this video. Contact us if you have any questions. And subscribe. All right. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.